Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome, Daily Theologians. This channel exists to equip and inspire you to share hope, and I'm so glad you're here. And this article is actually really important. It has to do with freedom of religion and freedom of speech in the public school system. In the school system, and it stems from a case last year where the Supreme Court ruled 6-3. So pay attention to this one. It may be a little complicated, but I tried to make this as straightforward as I could. So check this out and stay tuned. So first off, like any good background story, we have to start with the background info. So how did we get here and what exactly are we talking about? Well, first, a group of 21 state attorneys general have signed on a letter to the Biden administration denouncing recent efforts to expand LGBT policies in schools that they believe would circumvent religious liberty protection and free speech rights. Basically, they say they're trying to chill free speech, which I will explain in just a moment. But first, we have to understand what is it that these attorney generals see as a problem, and the great state of Tennessee is leading the charge on this one. So praise the Lord for Tennessee. So here's what they said. In a 6-3 ruling from June last year, the Supreme Court majority concluded the federal Title VII civil rights law banning employment discrimination on the basis of sex applied to sexual orientation and gender identity. And to that we say, bah! Gender identity is not reality. Gender identity and sexual orientation are things that people decide. They're actually disorders that these people are forcing on others to comport with their view of reality, which is affecting actual reality and actual religious held beliefs based on God's word and based on the observable reality in which we live. So the attorneys general sent a letter last week to President Joe Biden explaining that they took issue with the EEOC and Department of Education guidance, stating that in part the administration was misapplying the Bostock ruling. Now we'll get into what that is in just a moment. I have one more piece of background for you on what is the Bostock ruling. Essentially this. Harris Funeral Homes is kind of what is known. They're out of Michigan, and they were sued after firing its funeral director, Anthony Stevens, who changed his name to Amy and expressed that he would begin to identify and dress as a female. The Christian owner, Tom Rost, was concerned, or Tom Rost, about the grieving families and female employees who would have to share a woman's restroom with Stevens. And to that we say, of course he would be concerned, and of course it's his business, and this person changed the game on him mid however long he had worked there, and he was right to be concerned about this. This is not normal behavior. This is not good behavior. See, this question has to do with morality, right and wrong. It's not equality. It is what is right, good, and based on God's created order. You cannot subvert the two, and you cannot tell a guy how to run his funeral business with deeply held religious beliefs and people coming into that place with similar beliefs and having to share a bathroom with a guy that now identifies as a woman. You can see why Tom would say, sorry, I don't think it's going to be a good fit here. And you would think that that person would say, yeah, I think you're right. I can see that, and I'll find another place. That's how it should work, because he's not saying he can't work anywhere. Well, anyways, that went to the Suprema Corte, and no bueno, did not go good. So let me explain kind of where this case comes in. So the states involved in this case. There are 21, as I mentioned earlier, and let me give you just a little bit of view into who these states are saying we don't want this misapplied to the school system, and then we'll do a conclusion. So here is the official letter. Look at that seal. Go Tennessee. And the 21 states here are listed at the very bottom. And you can see that number one, we've got Tennessee, we've got Alabama, we've got Georgia. I think that's Georgia, yeah, Alaska, and many other states here. You can check it out for yourself. But they all put their own name-a-roo on the bottom, saying that no, 21 states. I mean, if you think about that, there are 50 states in this country. That's 2 out of 5, over 2 out of 5, 2.1 out of 5. That have said, no, we do not want this. 42%, if you like the mathematics and the numbers, said, no, we don't want this applied to the public school system because it's going to limit free speech, which is true. You cannot have two fundamentally opposing views of reality operate, and two fundamentally opposing views of just justice operate in the same system. It can't work. Free speech will always suffer because you will be forced to comport with this distorted and twisted view of reality. So that's the background. That's who's involved. Now let's talk about some of the conclusions. I think this is really where kind of the rubber meets the road. And here is the first conclusion from the article, which is over at the Christian Post. I'll post links to these articles. The EEOC guidance appears to ignore two of the three protections provided to religious employers, and acknowledging the RFRA, but nothing else. Continued the Attorney General Bostock, recognized that three religious liberty protections limit its scope. RFRA Title VII's express statutory exception for religious organizations. First Amendment protections of the employment relationship between a religious institution and its ministers. So it's not recognizing what they said it would. Big surprise. And it's being misapplied carte blanche. And they're saying, chill. I was going to put a clip of Batman with Arnold saying, chill, in here. But he said they're trying to chill free speech, which obviously is working. And that's how you deal with reality. You just kind of ignore it, and you suppress the truth in unrighteousness. So lastly, last conclusion, I think this is the big one. Federal agencies do not have the authority to unilaterally change laws. That is the exclusive prerogative of Congress, said Slattery in a statement released last Wednesday. Actions like these exclude the voices, votes, and participation of the people and their representatives, which is neither right nor constitutional. On June 15th, the EEOC announced that it was providing new resources to promote LGBT policies or LGBT anti-discrimination. Funny how that's termed, anti-discrimination. See, it's an anti-reality position that you're trying to tell Tom Roast that he has to employ someone that now wants to use the women's bathroom, though he is a man, and is basically ruining this terrible experience for people who are grieving the loss of a loved one, and it's his right to be in their bathroom. No, that is a serious safety issue. But anyways, they're saying it's anti-discrimination, which is a twisting of words, which is what Satan does. In employment, in response to the Bostock decision from last year, these included consolidating resources to explain the extent and scope of the decision and how the Biden administration believes that it should be implemented in state governments and schools, private corporations, and religious organizations. Basically, the whole enchilada, the burrito. You just put a burrito right there. It's the whole thing. Regarding claims of employment discrimination, all people, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, deserve an opportunity. What does that mean, an opportunity? Because it sounds like he's forcing them to employ them, to work in an environment free from harassment or other discrimination. Well, what about the people trying to use the bathroom that are actually girls or men with women, etc.? What about their opportunity to not be harassed by people that are essentially perverted? What about their opportunity for reality? What about their opportunity to call that evil and sinful? Where's that opportunity? Well, that opportunity has sailed away into the sunset. We've sunset reality is what we're trying to do. So you can see why people are upset. You can see why this is not being looked upon favorably by 21 states. 42% of the union has said no. And I don't know if others would have signed, but anyways, you don't want this applied across to schools because, again, this goes along with the CRT thing and all the other things that are attacking the family. Once you tear down the genetics of the family, you begin to disassemble society into a bunch of individuals that are just autonomons or autonomous. And so that genetic passing of relationship and family that comes through the created order of family making more people by God's grace, to creating family made of genes, real things. You're tearing that down and saying, no, we don't need that. But of course you do, because everyone on the other side of the aisle of this issue in the LGBTQ community came from people that were man and woman, that had children, and they are the result of that process, which is how God has created the world and universe. This is a long video and maybe a lot of detail to go back through, but the core issue here is reality. The core issue is right and wrong. This is not about equality of opportunity. This is not about tolerance. This is about protecting children and people from people that clearly, if you've seen it all, the San Francisco choir thing, or the guy in the UK, which I'm not even going to touch that video, that is terrible. They're coming after kids, and they're coming after families, and they're trying to deconstruct so they can reconstruct their Tower of Babel, and they're trying to reach to the sky, and it's not going to work, because Jesus is fully God and fully man, and he is coming back, and he cares very much about families and children. He cares very much about truth, and he's put us as Christians here as preserving agents of salt and light, and there's a salt on the sunset of night. It's all happening right now because their thinking isn't right. I wrote a whole thing on that, but the point is this, that this is an evil attack on family and reality, and I say no. I say no bueno. Thank you, Tennessee. but also not mad at these people. I understand that it is a spiritual issue. We love them, we care about them, but we want them to be reconciled to the God that made them. And we want to protect children and family too. Well, you can't be neutral on this. This isn't like, yeah, it's their right. This is not a right thing. This is a distortion of reality, and this is putting children and women and people and truth at jeopardy, and it's trying to usurp the whole enchilada or burrito, as I referenced earlier. The burrito is being smushed. So, if you're still with this thing, please take a moment, leave a comment below, let me know what you think about all that, and don't forget to hammer that like button. Like the 95 Theses, and really leave a comment. I know this is a long video. I know it's not popular to do stuff like this, but I gave up on popularity a long time ago, basically. So thanks for watching, and God bless.